Risk is something that either needs to be mitigated or for which I need to accept and be willing to rebound. That combination informs exactly the way that I approach my business strategy. Hello, my name is Alton Wheelhouse. I'm the founder of Shatter 55, and I help to lower the global suicide rate by building profitable, sustainable, and purposeful businesses. Whether you're a starting entrepreneur or someone who's already successfully owned multiple businesses, you are going to encounter bumps along the road. And there's a specific set of strategies that I like to employ with myself and my clients that helps to make sure that problems are able to be overcome. The reality is that we can't anticipate everything, but when we are starting a business, what we are looking for are risks. Risk is something that either needs to be mitigated or for which I need to accept and be willing to rebound. That combination informs exactly the way that I approach my business strategy. When I was going into the pandemic, I was the director of strategy for a manufacturing company here in Utah. As we started to look at what was going on in the world and with the connections that we had with our manufacturers in China, it became apparent that the problems that we were about to face were a lot larger than anything the business had anticipated up until that point. We went into the tank for a few weeks. Closed door meetings, literally hours upon hours upon hours of research, data analysis, building out spreadsheets, trying to project every possible outcome. And when we finally put it all together, we ended up with a projection that was true within 5% month over month for the first 2 years of the pandemic. I'm exceptionally proud of that because it showed that we were capable of doing the first thing in terms of being able to solve problems, which is risk mitigation. Mitigation is simply trying to anticipate what problems are coming and figuring out ways to work around them ahead of time, either prevent them entirely or have the systems in place to account for when something goes wrong. Think about a hydroelectric dam. Water needs to move through it at a constant rate, making sure to keep energy high, but there are going to be periods where the water is low. And on the opposite side, if a flood hits, that dam needs to be able to handle it. A spillway going along the side of the dam is a mitigation that is there specifically to help if the water gets too high, so that the dam can remain secure and continue to produce exactly what it needs to produce. With mitigation, notably, there are sometimes losses and risk that come with that too. Those spillways need to be well maintained. They need to be large enough to be able to support the flow of water coming through. And they need to be regularly inspected to ensure that everything is in good working order. But you are a heck of a lot better having something like that in place than just building something without any idea of what could happen when things go wrong. Similarly, this is the other reason that we have contracts. A contract will never, and I repeat, a contract will never replace a relationship. But what it does is it identifies and predefines what's going to happen if unexpected things happen that could threaten the business. One of the most critical failures in my own life have been in businesses where we didn't have appropriate paperwork in place to dictate what was going to happen. When the venture is starting, everybody wants it to succeed. We are there interested in working together to produce the best result. But although oftentimes we can agree on the root of a problem, we don't always agree on the way to address it. And that is where a contract comes in. It defines who gets to make decisions, how those decisions get ratified and implemented, and what happens in the case of a catastrophic failure. But mitigation isn't the only tool in your tool belt. The other one, and frankly, probably the better one to develop up front, is resilience. Think about what happens when you pull back a rubber band. It stretches out, and then when you release it, it snaps back into place. That is resilience. And internally, when we are building businesses or working on projects that matter to us, that resilience mechanism comes from understanding why you are doing things. Think about the stories of immigrant mothers who stay up, taking 2 or 3 jobs, waiting up all night, getting a couple of hours of sleep in, and then going back and grinding the next day to be able to produce a life for their children. You think that they somehow have a magical ability that the rest of us don't? Not necessarily, but they do have an internal understanding of why they are doing what they are doing, which gives them almost infinite resilience. When a mother looks into the eyes of their child and sees that they need to find a way to put the next meal on the table, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to find a way to do it. Now, the businesses that we build don't always have something as deep and intrinsic to our well-being as the care of a child, but maybe it could. And this is one of the reasons why when I work with my clients, I start by focusing on why they are doing what they are doing. If you know why you are building the business that you are building, beyond just its process of making money, then when things go wrong, when unexpected bumps in the road happen, you will have the internal fortitude to be able to push through and find whatever solution needs to be found. One of my favorite quotes that you may have heard me before, if you're a longtime listener, is from Adam Savage. Trust the process, not the plan. The plan tells us what's going to happen, assuming that all of the conditions remain exactly the same. The process informs us what happens, why we are doing it, and how we go about solving problems. So let me illustrate why resilience is so important. First, I'm going to talk about a story from my own, personal life, and then we'll talk about a business story as well. I hate the gym, but there was a point in my life where I was 260 pounds. I was overweight, constantly wheezing, struggling with pain and nausea. I was on a bevy of different medications and constantly trying to figure out how to get myself just one more day. When I started working with a personal trainer in an effort to reduce what I needed to do, he advised me to get my blood tested because as we were working out, I came back to him complaining about how it would take me 4, 5, 6, 7 days to recover after a workout. That simply wasn't normal. It turns out I needed more testosterone in my system. I've been on a testosterone replacement therapy for a little over a year and a half now, and it has changed my life in huge ways. But we identified in that process something very important, which was that even though I was more than willing to put in the work, my body did not have what it needed to be resilient. This is often the same thing within our own businesses. We may know exactly what we need to do to produce the results, but if we aren't getting them, it may be that there is something missing that requires that we have the fortitude, mentally and emotionally, to continue to put in the work. Now, beyond my professional work, I have a number of hobbies, one of which is joining a beautiful podcast called Dungeon Crawlers Radio. We love to talk about geek news, authors, games. It's a wonderful time. But there was a point one evening where we were recording in the middle of winter. Dark winds blew outside, and as the snow began to come down while we were all on Zoom together, we realized, we hadn't been recording the entire time. We quickly spun it up, and less than a minute into recording, our main host disappeared. Turns out that a power station up near his house had gone out, completely eliminating all possibility of him being able to get back on and record with us that evening. My other co-host and I sat there incredulous, could not believe what had just happened after having put in over 45 minutes of work for a podcast that's typically only a half hour long. We were once again faced with the prospect of starting over. But we employed some resilience because we understood why we were there, which was to have fun and talk about things that mattered to us. The topic of the evening went out, and instead one of my favorite episodes was born. The episode where it all went wrong, in which we talked about specifically how to handle when a situation at a gaming table goes in an unexpected way. That internal resilience was informed by our commitment to what we were creating. We wanted to create a space in which we were helping people enjoy their games and their fandoms more passionately than ever. And so the topic became less important than us just speaking to camera and making the most of whatever we had. This is particularly important when we're dealing with financial or political or social issues, because oftentimes it can feel like the only way that we are going to win is if we get every single item on our checklist, when in reality, if we understand why we are doing things, the method of getting our solutions becomes much more flexible. When I sit down with business owners and they tell me, I want more of my time back, I think that they are absolutely honest in that. But as I tend to work with them through their businesses, what I often find is that while it is about time, it is often about the ways that they hate spending their time. They want the removal of the pain, and they get so focused on that more than on the pleasure that actually got them to start the business to begin with. After we spend some time helping them realign to why they're doing what they are doing, They instead start to spend their energy on the things that matter to them, and it becomes easy to hire somebody to handle the rest. Sometimes that means that they have to generate additional resources, structure, planning, strategy. They need to mitigate some risks ahead of time, but the energy for them to do it is there because of the resilience forged by an understanding of why you do what you do. And so this is the challenge that I would put forward to you as well. Whether you are considering a business or you're in one right now and trying to figure out what the next step to get it to grow is, look at your pain points and look at the risks that are coming ahead and put them each into one of two categories. Either one, is it something that I can mitigate? Is it something that I can plan for ahead of time to ensure that it does not improperly affect me or my business? And if not, I must accept it, and therefore, why am I willing to push through that particular pain? Do not move forward with a decision until you are committed to creating the outcome, whatever the path looks like, because through that path, you gain all of the skills necessary for long-term sustainability and profitability. But the only way that you are going to get there is by being able to put in the effort up front. Experience may be cold hard cash, but passion is the credit from which you grow your business. So, understanding why you do things is one more way for you to be able to prevent catastrophic failure, or in other words, to gain the success and results that you want. Keep going, whatever it may be. Your goal is worthy, and so are you. Get clear on why you want it and share it with the world. See how quickly your business grows. I'm excited to have had you here with me today. Thank you so much for joining. Check us out. Links are in the description, and you can like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like some help with your own business, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm looking forward to seeing what you produce.